Hello there, hello there, hello there, everybody. How are we all? I am very well, I thank you for asking. You may have noticed I'm not on camera tonight. It is far too hot for that nonsense. My titties are out, the camera is off. Let's party. What's this? I got an error message when I tried to make a clip. Failed to make classification or something like that. Well, I've never done a clip, so I don't know how to do it, Big Zebra. But someone in chat might be able to tell you. I don't fucking know. I haven't got a Scooby-Doo what you're talking about, son. I don't know why I said Scooby-Doo, like that's a thing that I've ever fucking seriously said. Why are cunts shouting? Honest to God, people who live around here are fucking knobheads. Yes, anyway. Oh yes, so... yeah, how are we? Are we well? Are we well? I do hope so. At least a little side boob. Maybe later on I'll allow you to pay me to show titty. But maybe not. I don't know. What's this? Camera tonight is far too hot for that nonsense. My titties are out. The camera is off. Let's party. Okay, I'm downloading that and I might put that up as a short on YouTube. I don't know. Share? Is that how you do I have to share? Download landscape version? Save. Done. Sex chocolate. There you go, non-binary, you did it. We only need the audio, big guy. True. Have you heard about my mate Keith? He's well hard. Oh, you know, Keith is... Keith might be the hardest man in all of his own house. Maybe. I don't know. His wife might be quite hard. I have no idea. Shall I repeat the joke I did the other day? You know, the only thing that Keith is hard for is Ukrainian rent boys. Which you either know about that particular conspiracy or you don't. And I couldn't give a fuck either way, in all honesty. It's the way it be. Yes. So I asked everyone on the Discord for suggestions for things to cover tonight, and I'll be honest with you, most of it is unusable. But one thing I did have, because they paid me to play this yesterday, and I didn't play it yesterday because I was with a guest, so I was like, I don't know. And it's this thing. They paid me to play it, so like, scream at them, scream at Lace if this is rubbish, because I have no idea what the fuck it is. Okay? What the fuck is this? What is this? This is fucking demented. Why have you made me watch this? What the fuck are you doing? What is this? Bollocks! What the fuck? What? Okay, firstly, to the person who suggested that, right? To the person who suggested that, why did you think I would like it? Firstly, that's what I'm going to have to ask, question number one. And question number two, why the fuck did you think that No Justice would have liked that? Because that's what you said yesterday. You said that No Justice would have enjoyed that, and that I should have played that to them as well, and their audience. What the fuck was that? What was that? 36 degrees. 36 degrees. Move, Phantom. Move to a country that isn't like mental. That's too hot. 36 degrees is too hot. That humans aren't supposed to live in those conditions. Don't blame us, you have the controls. Someone paid me money to do that. And as someone pointed out earlier, where was it? Oh, fuck, I've missed it now. Anyway, someone said something like, Kev won't take a sponsor, but you can pay him to watch anything sight unseen. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's a thing. So anyway, if you wanted to, you can give me money. Please don't send me shit links to things though. That would be cool. Yeah. Fogel, there's no fucking way it was 38 degrees. You live in mountains. How, like, I know that's technically closer to the sun, but not much. Like, you live in mountains. You live in Nazi mountains. How the fuck is it 38 degrees there? That's mental. It's like, do you have any ice? Is there any snow left on those mountains? Has it all melted? It must have melted. Much like my brain. Last night it was 12 degrees. Well, that is quite cold. But again, move. Just move. Just move. Is my suggestion. I know that's like literally impossible for a lot of people, but that's not the point. That's the only answer I have. Move. Move to somewhere more temperate. Like England. Thank you to Vogel for giving a sub to Lekkers Minkelen. So Dutch. Honestly, that's so Holland. That's so Netherlands coded. Yes. Huzzah. Thank you, Vogel. Hey Kev, I'm in Wales. Oh, that's cool, Dingus. Where are you usually? I've totally forgotten. I don't know where anyone's from anymore. I was thrown the other day by having fucking Duck Authority reveal themselves to be Rohak. It's twisted my mind. I don't know what to do anymore. No idea. Anyway, if you wanted to pay me money to watch things, but ideally not to watch things, ideally just give me money and leave me alone otherwise, you can in the form of bits messages, super chats, memberships, and the bits messages and all. Super chats. I said that, didn't I? I've said all of these things. God damn me. God damn me all. What is this? What is this non-binary? Swiss glacier wiped off the map. No, sorry, the Swiss village wiped off a map by a glacier. The village of Blatten, stupid name, has stood for centuries. Then in seconds it was gone. Scientists monitoring the Nesthorn mountain above the village in recent weeks saw that parts of it had begun to crumble. No way. Oh, fuck, that's mental. Whoa. Look at that shit. Hang on. I say look at that shit as if I've got it on the screen. Bell end. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at that. Hang on, is that on the screen for you? Can you actually see that? Not really. There you go. Look at that. Look, the mountain just collapses on this fucking village, man. Oh, no, 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 no. Hotel Edelweiss. Stereotypical. Oh, look at that shit. Look at that. That is a what's the opposition of a transition glow up? A transition blow up, I guess. Look at that. Oh, no. That's fucked. Ooh, that's bad. Why did you send this to me? Glacier, Blatten. Is he going to show us what it looks like now? Or not? No. Oh, look at that. Fuck. There used to be a town there. They saved a pig, though. That's cool. No, is that a pig or is it a dog, isn't it? No, is it? What the fuck is it? Oh, it's a cow. It's a cow. Oh, it's got titties, yeah. Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter visited the locals affected by the landslide. Well, there you go. Well, fuck me sideways. Anyway, I don't know how to transition to the next story. I don't. To Contrapoints. There we go. Boom. Fantastic. Well done, Kev. Anyway, so I actually watched quite an interesting video on this. No, well, not on this specifically because it was made before this, but on the general topic of some people on the left maybe not being as forthright and forthcoming about the issue of Palestine/Israel. By Cavanackle, who is a good content creator. And it wasn't just about Contrapoints, it was about like H-Bomber Guy and Philosophy Tube and a few other people who like haven't really been, like I say, haven't been forthcoming particularly in terms of their support for Palestine, I suppose. And I'm not going to like watch that video with you. You can go and watch that yourself. What I will say is that I think the bread tube people, the bigger ones like Contrapoints, some of them have shown their arse a little bit on this. In that it's not that they don't support Palestine in some internal sense, and maybe in private. But I think it's pretty obvious why they've not come forward with their full-throated support for things like Palestine. Because there are potential consequences. I mean, we've seen the most extreme example recently, of course, is Kneecap, which has been investigated for terrorism, amongst other things. And even today, literally had an advertisement of theirs banned from the London Underground. And it wasn't a controversial one, it was literally just an advertisement for a gig they had coming up in London. Like, it literally didn't even mention Palestine. It didn't mention Israel. It didn't mention anything. It just said Kneecap in letters with their like logo, which again isn't a controversial thing. It's just a face, right? Just an eyes and a mouth, and then the date and time of the thing, and then the bottom you have to do like, oh, promoted by such and such a company, and that's it, right? That was banned. London Underground, or was it Transport for London, whatever, said no, we're not gonna accept that advertisement, which is pretty grim. And when you face that kind of backlash, especially in creative fields where jobs can be pretty tenuous, it's understandable why people would want to be cautious with making statements. We've seen people make controversial statements and basically go from having a successful career to being Lawrence Fox. That can happen. You can become Glinner, so to speak. You can have a successful career, take a very strong and, let's say, deranged stance on something, and completely lose that career. So it's understandable. And especially when it comes to Israel-Palestine, because you only even have to say reasonably, mild support for Palestine. What's her name? Mrs. Rachel? The kids' TV woman? Just coming out and saying, let's not kill Palestinian children, please. Let's stop killing. That would be cool. And that was too much. The Zionists came for her with fucking, red in tooth and claw, so to speak. So that happens. And you've got people like Contrapoints who, have cultivated a certain niche within reasonably powerful circles. She was on with Hillary Clinton, for instance, and I presume has made contacts with other reasonably high-profile, famous people, which would be potentially severed and destroyed if she came out really vocally in support of Palestine. The same is true with, of course, what's her face? Fuck's sake. Philosophy Tube. There we go. So I still know a lot of these people by their old dead names, which isn't cool. Yes, so Philosophy Tube. It has a burgeoning acting/directing movie type career, which would be potentially damaged by coming out in support of Palestine. I'm not sure about H. Bomber Guy, really, why he hasn't been a bit more active or vocal, particularly. Because, he makes, one video every 2 years, and it's an 8-hour-long video about Lego or something. It's just, who fucking cares? What's he got to lose in this? I'm not sure. But he hasn't spoken out very much. And so, is there a point anywhere in all of this? Well, I'm going to read through the thing where I'm just giving some preliminary thoughts, Maria. Apologies. Please stop trying to be my fucking content, please. Rambling is what I do, okay? Where were we? Sorry. Yes. So, Contrapoints has had a bit of a... Contrapoints has had some dust-ups recently with people about anti-Semitism on the left and stuff like that. They're becoming a little contrarian for my likings. And so, anyway, they came up with this post, which we're going to read through. That's actually quite small. Can we make that a little bit larger? Giggity. I'm not sure that is making it any larger. Is it? No, it literally hasn't made the slightest difference. Okay, what I can do then is... 1 second, everybody. To do it in the OBS. Apologies. Boom. Oh, hang on. Hopefully that's a little bit more readable for everybody. There we go. Right. So, Contrapoints writes. So, many leftists feel betrayed because I haven't made a video on Palestine. Do you actually want a Contrapoints video about Palestine? Will they be happy if I get in the bath and pour milk on a mannequin of Benjamin Netanyahu? No. Okay, time out. No, I don't think anyone was asking for you to make a video necessarily. I think people were wondering why you hadn't spoken out about it virtually at all. That's the issue. No one's asking you. I don't think people are asking you to do a full-blown Contrapoints video, especially given that your videos take like a fucking year to make. You've got a very similar kind of schedule, I think, to H-Bomber Guy, right? Where you make a 3-hour long video once every 18 months or something. So I don't think anyone was really asking for that. I think that's something of a straw man. It's like, why aren't you talking about this thing? That's the issue I have. Because, like, even people like who had previously been pro-Israel have actively spoken out against what Israel has been doing in a way that you, a supposed leftist, have not. Which does look a bit fucking weird. Now, again, you can talk or not talk about whatever you like, and people can respond in whatever way they like. And so, ultimately, your lack of response is itself a response, right? You can choose to talk about or not talk about anything, but when you have the biggest news story, certainly in terms of foreign affairs, of the last couple of years, and you haven't really talked about it, one does have to ask the question why that is. Is it because you don't necessarily feel the way that people want you to feel? In which case you should probably explain that to people. Or cowardice? Or fear? Or what? We'll get into it, I'm sure. She continues. I have posted about Gaza occasionally, and I have quietly given money to Palestinian aid organisations. But I think what leftists really want is for me to join the chorus of anger. They say... Okay, I'm going to time out there. What would be wrong with that? Is this not something one kind of ought to feel angry about? Because I feel very fucking angry about this. Not about Contrapoints not saying anything. I'm talking about Palestine, right? Israel, Palestine, that whole thing is something that has made a lot of people angry. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily made Contrapoints angry, but if it has, you would think you'd want to talk about it. And if it hasn't, that kind of is not a good look, I don't think. I think if you can look at the situation that's going on there and not be angry about that, there's something broken, I think, inside. There's something wrong with you, I think. Like, even, I don't know, even fucking very pro-Israel people are angry. They're just angry in a completely wrong fucking way. So, like, again, I think there's something to be said for wanting anger, or not wanting anger, feeling anger is an appropriate response to the situation we find ourselves in. Because I don't see that playing like nicey respectability politics is really going to get anyone anywhere right now. Because it hasn't for the last 80 years, so why would it? Chorus of anger. They sense some hesitation on my part and are judging me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions, so here they are. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. Okay. 1. Doom. The week of October the 7th, it was clear the mood among Israeli leaders and civilians was overwhelmingly kill or be killed, existential panic and unstoppable lust for revenge. It reminded me of the US after 9/11. There was no reasoning or protesting them out of it, nor was it politically feasible for the US to withdraw aid to Israel on a timeline that would have made a difference. That would make a difference. that's not really remotely true in a literal sense. Now, do I think it was feasible given the state of Congress? No, but that's because Israel is essentially an American project. It's an American military outpost project. That's what it is. America could have either withdrawn support or threatened to withdraw support. It would have been nice if Joe Biden had done pretty much fucking anything to stop this. It would have been nice if Trump had done pretty much anything to try and fucking stop this. But they haven't. The idea that America is like, because America has elected Zionist scumbags, it can just sort of wipe its hands of the moral necessity to act to stop genocide. No, that's not acceptable. That's not remotely acceptable. It would have required replacing most of Congress and overturning decades of bipartisan strategy and diplomacy. Oh, heaven forbid! Heaven forbid we overturn bipartisan strategy towards doing genocide. Heaven forfend. Even in the best case scenario, it would have taken years. So there was a sense of futility. But worse. 2. Misery. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was not merely opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general. That is, opposition to the existence of an Israel as a Jewish state. Well, yeah, apologies. Were you of the opinion that the left could tolerate ethno-states? Like, at what point did you ever think it was going to be tolerable for an ethno-state? Now, that's not to say that a nation called Israel can't exist. And there are leftists, I think, who do believe in some sort of multi-state solution to this problem. But no ethno-states. That's never been an acceptable fucking situation. At what point did you ever think it was? What ever gave you the impression that this was? I don't know. I genuinely don't know what strand of leftism she thinks would ever tolerate that, but here we go. Where are we? I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. Wowzer. That is an unbelievably grim thing. I don't think it's remotely doomed. It wouldn't take that much pressure from America to stop this shit. It really wouldn't. It's just that the American nation and the American political system have given up seemingly trying to stop this. Assuming it ever really was. Oh, sorry, God. No, I missed that. I missed out a fucking thing, didn't I? It shrank the coalition. Zionist is a very broad category. Most Jews are Zionists. Anyone who supports a two-state solution is a Zionist. Is, I think, incorrect. Zionism isn't just the state of Israel existing. That's one of the lies that Israel tells. Zionism is entirely about expansion and control and domination and ethnic supremacy and yada yada yada, right? That's the problem, I think. It's not that just believing that there should be a state called Israel or accepting that a state called Israel is always going to exist there or for the time being existing there is not itself Zionism. That's like you're buying into the liberal Zionist lie here that that's what that means. When it doesn't. We know it doesn't. If Israel could have just accepted the borders as they were and let Palestine be, this could have been solved a long time ago. But instead, when they tried to do a two-state solution, they killed the Prime Minister who tried that, and the people that killed him are now in government in Israel. So it's not just about Israel existing, is it? Otherwise, why would they be occupying the Golan Heights? Why would they be constantly doing house invasions and outposts and things in the West Bank? It introduced dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of Zionism as a political Satan enabled all kinds of rhetorical abuses. Okay, I'd like some examples of those. On the other hand, right-wing Israelis held up anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. Yeah, they're liars. Yes, we know. We know they're liars. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you should stop telling the truth because other people are lying about you. On the other hand, there is a long history of anti-Semites using the term Zionist in deliberately equivocal ways. Zog, etc. That's yeah. So Zog stands for Zionist occupied government, or Zionist organised government is another way of putting it, which is like a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory about how like Zionists, by which they just mean Jews, control everything. Right? It's literally what it says on the tin. The idea of your government being occupied by Jews. That's what they mean by that. Yeah, it's fucking evil, right? Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimise their agenda. And many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognise when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. There's, I think, a point there that because there's like a kind of a good opposition to Israel, and there's like a really bad opposition to Israel. So I would, without being too big-headed, say that I do the good kind of opposition to Israel, which isn't about them being Jewish. In fact, I'd have exactly the same reaction if it was a fucking Buddhist ethno-state, or a Christian ethno-state, or a white ethno-state, or a black ethno-state, or whatever. Okay? It's got nothing to do with their religion. I couldn't give two fucks about what their theological standpoint is. I couldn't really give a fuck about their ethnic background, particularly. I know that it can be pertinent in terms of being Semitic and therefore having roots in the area for thousands of years and all of that. But in terms of my response to their actions, I couldn't give a fuck where they're from. Whether it's Warsaw or Tel Aviv or fucking Philadelphia, I don't care. If you're doing genocide, I'm going to be pissed off about that. And I'm going to oppose you with everything I fucking can. Right? And then there's the bad kind of opposition to Israel, which is like the Nick Fuentes, they're Jews, therefore evil and bad, and that the influence that any kind of Zionism has anywhere outside of Israel is inherently like the fucking protocols of the learned elders of Zion is true, and all of that shit. Right? That's the evil fuckery that unfortunately does get conflated and is used by actual fucking like ghoul bastards in Israel as a way of trying to undermine legitimate criticism of Israel by comparing it to the bad kind of opposition to Israel, right? Propagandists be propagandering, you know. She continues. Dread. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this has been to create a population of people in a constant state of blood? I don't know why I said it like that. Of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. Okay, there's a certain truth to that. Firstly, though, I don't think it's necessarily wrong that anyone would share any of those images. I think it's right to tell the truth, to show reality as it is, however grim that reality may be. One could say this sort of thing about any genocide, you know? Like, why would you show pictures from any other genocide? but to create rage and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, I think it's fair to show the reality of the situation so that we can at least understand what that reality is and try and react appropriately. Because how can one react appropriately to something one doesn't understand? You can't. And secondly, there's a point to the no consequential political outlet. That's true. Often the left has not had a consequential political outlet, and that's because of the fact that the quote-unquote left party in the United States isn't a left party and is itself heavily infested, frankly, with Zionists. Okay? You've got people like Hakeem Jeffries, who was literally fucking schooled by titty football man himself, Rabbi Shmuley Buteyok. That fucking lunatic. That party is not an outlet for leftism, which is why they've had to turn to other alternatives, frankly. And it's not just leftists. I don't think any reasonable... I don't think any... Is that Cory Booker or both? I thought it was Hakeem Jeffries. Maybe it was Cory Booker. I don't know. Apologies. If I've got my American politicians mixed up, I apologise. Anyway, yeah. Oh shit! What was I going to fucking say? Yeah, any justifiable opposition to Israel has no real way of having any impact on the opinions or the voting intentions of, or the legislation or the decisions of the executive of the United States. They are not responsive to the opinions of the American people, because fundamentally it's not really democracy in a number of ways. The fact that scumfucks like neo-Nazi prick Elon Musk can just buy the presidency for a man he knows to be a pedophile gives you every indication that this is not a healthy system. American politicians are so bought and paid for by AIPAC that it doesn't matter how much American public opinion changes against Israel, policy isn't going to. So it's not just that the left don't have a consequential political outlet for this. It's that no opposition to Israel at all has an effective, consequential political outlet. You can't even do fucking... you can't even do, protests on American campuses without getting, like, fucking El Salvador prison jailed. Or kicked out of the country, or kicked out of the campus, or fucking having your entire future destroyed for daring to hold an opinion that Donald Trump doesn't like, or the ADL doesn't like, or AIPAC doesn't like. No one has an opinion, or no one has an outlet for any opposition to that. In a way that they do for, like, there's a defund Ukraine outlets, right? There are fucking people on the right of American politics who are actively against giving any more weapons or money to Ukraine. There is basically nobody, even though American public opinion has been swayed by this, even though there is a significant number of Americans, a significant percentage of Americans, who don't want to give more money to Israel because they see the very pictures and videos that you mention here, Contrapoints. They don't want to give any more money to Israel. There is no political outlet for that opinion. There is no person, really, in the American political establishment standing up for that position. So it's not just the left, it's everyone. Anyone who has any reasoned opposition to Israel has absolutely no outlet. And that just breeds resentment and hatred. That just breeds frustration and anger, which is the exact anger that you decried in the previous thing. That's why people are, or one of the reasons that people are angry. It's not just that a bad thing is happening. It's that a bad thing is happening in a way that we can have no positive impact on. Because the people who could have a positive impact on have been fucking purchased by the very people we are looking them to have a positive impact upon. In a reciprocal fucking circle jerk of evil corruption. That's the problem. Right, I'm going to take a moment out, okay? I'm going to take a moment out to read comments and things and see how everyone is, how we feeling. Whilst we do that, I tell you what, whilst we do that, do you want to watch the most zen dog in the history of the world? Not that one. Although that is a cute dog, but that's not the one I'm referring to. Look how fucking chill this dog is. If it's going to play for me, there we go. Look at that. That's a chill dog. Look at his little teethsies. Anyway. Strangely, Donald Trump has changed his mind and has started assisting Ukraine again. Yes, I did see that. Bizarrely, yeah. I suppose now he's got that fucking deal with the rare earth minerals and all of that. He's probably like, he's got something to defend. He's got like a reason to want Ukraine to win. Because that counts for him, you know? Like, he gets the win as well because that deal gets to stand. Whereas if Russia just takes over, then they've got no fucking chance, you know? Well, Edward, this is the Edward Saxby in chat says, well, according to Natalie's logic, nobody ought to ever have campaigned for civil rights or against Vietnam War. This is what I'm sort of, the feeling I get from people like Natalie. Is that, you know, it's that old thing about, was it liberals support every civil rights movement but the one happening right now. And they oppose every single war except the one that's happening right now. In other words, once the fight has been fought, then they'll happily support it. And at some point in the future, everyone will have claimed to have been against the genocide happening against the Palestinian people. It may be 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, doesn't matter. At some point, everyone will look back on this and say, oh, we were against that. Of course we were. Or if I was alive, I'd have been against that. But the thing is, the war that you need to oppose is the one that exists now. And the civil rights movement you need to support is the one that's around now. But in both of those cases, it's very difficult. You don't really face much consequence for supporting the suffragettes now. You did at the time. You don't really face much consequence for supporting Martin Luther King today. They've even got a day named after him and everything. Which is scant compensation considering they killed him, but, you know. So you don't get any pushback from that for supporting Martin Luther King now. You did at the time. That's sort of the problem that I think a lot of people who are, broadly speaking, liberal have. Is that they don't have to put up with the consequences of dealing with the current situation. You know? It's very difficult. You might face negative externalities if you have to. Thank you, Cortana. I appreciate that. Where is she saying don't oppose Israel? Cite it. No, Maria, I'm not saying she is saying that. I'm saying it's easier for her to crawl under a rock and pretend that this isn't happening. I'm not suggesting she's actively in support of Israel. Like, the title I put for this is a little bit clickbaity, sure. But, like, I don't actually think she's a Zionist agent. I don't actually think she's being paid by the Mossad. I'm saying it's much easier for her to just take the easy road. To just take the easy life and say, I don't want to deal with this. And that's exactly what she seems to be doing. Anyway, continuing. Where were we? We've had our doggo break. So we got to political outlet, didn't we? There we go. Right. She continues. I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are conceptually not the same, and conflating them is dangerous. But in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into attitudes towards Jews in general. I mean, for like weird Nazis, yes. For weirdo Nazis, that is absolutely true, yes. Or indeed, actually, one of the problems I do actually have with Israel is that they seem to want to make Jewish people look bad. And what I mean by that is the Jewish people around the world, the various different groups and stuff, have wildly different opinions about different things. They believe different things theologically, culturally, politically, all the rest of it, right? And yet Israel, as a state, claims to represent all of those people. It claims that its actions are the actions of the wider Jewish diaspora around the world, right? It wants to intrinsically tie its existence and its actions to every Jewish person in the world. Now, I don't remotely for a fucking second accept that, and I've just punched the microphone, accept that that is true, right? But if we hypothetically go with it for just the briefest second, if we accept the claim of the Israeli state that it represents Jewish people around the world, and the Israeli government are currently engaged in a genocide against the Palestinian people, that would mean that all Jewish people were to blame for that thing happening, right? That action is indeed representative of Jewish people around the world. And if that were true, that would mean that Jewish people were like monumentally evil, right? If it were true. If it were true, it would mean that the crazy, fucked up conspiracy theory people were right. But that's the thing. They're not fucking right, because the Israeli government are lying bastards. They don't represent Jewish people. But unfortunately, because they claim to, some people around the world start to connect Israel with Jewish people. So when Contrapoints mentions here that attitudes towards Israel seep into attitudes towards Jewish people around the world, that's at least in part because of the actions of the Israeli government. That's why they create more anti-Semitism around the world amongst, unfortunately, stupid people, because you'd have to be, I think, pretty fucking stupid to think that those claims of the Israeli government are actually true and correct. But regardless, it doesn't matter whether you're being racism is being targeted at you by clever people or fucking stupid people. It's still racism, and it's still fucking violence and ignorance, and people will be fucking killed. It doesn't matter the intelligence or cultural sophistication of the person involved. Israel creates the very problem that unfortunately Contrapoint seems to be kind of saying is something to do with the left. And I don't know how the fuck that can possibly be. Helena on Discord's take was, I think there's not really a left-wing anti-Semitism problem, but there is certainly an anti-Israel anti-Semitism problem. Yeah, I see. I kind of see what that means. Yeah. Pardon me. Apologies. I'm getting a bit burpy. She continues. I don't think Jews feel isolated. I don't think Jews who feel isolated and wary in the current atmosphere are simply hysterical or hallucinating. No, I think that's absolutely correct. Yeah, I will agree with that statement, certainly. I don't think they are hysterical or hallucinating. I think we have seen an uptick in anti-Semitism. We have seen a destabilisation of the lives of a lot of Jewish people around the world. That is true. And again, the Zionist project, if you will, requires that that's the case. And this is true of all extremists, right? ISIS or Al Qaeda or whoever, right? The terrorist Islamic extremists. And I realise that ISIS and Al Qaeda were enemies. I'm not trying to conflate them. I'm just saying whoever, a terrorist group, an Islamist terrorist group, requires the increase in racism and xenophobia and Islamophobic bigotry that comes after one of their terrorist attacks to be further recruiting for their future. They require that, okay? So they require, like, racists to organise racistly against Muslims, to feed into the loop of alienation and distance and othering of Muslims in these places to create new terrorists, right? And this is where people like the EDL and the British National Party and fucking Nigel Farage and Al Qaeda play off against one another. They require the existence of the other to continue existing. The right-wing fuckheads need there to be extremist Muslims to point out and go, look, Muslims are bad. And the Muslim extremists require Nigel Farage to say Muslims are bad in order to further distance and alienate young Muslims who can then be targeted by them for recruitment. And there's a similar dynamic, I think, taking place in the way in which Zionists try and inculcate a sense of Jewish like bunker mentality, if you will, although that's slightly weird historical phrasing, but hopefully that makes sense, right? They require Jewish people to feel under siege. They require Jewish people to feel like they don't really belong in America, Britain, Europe, wherever. Because what they want is Jewish people from around the world to use their birthright, citizenship rights to go and live in Israel and create more babies that can then be taught in Zionist schools to be the next generation of evil bastards who go out and do fucking genocide and shit. So they act as inculcators of new babies. They are cannon fodder to be used in the IDF, right? Or propagandists, whether wittingly or unwittingly, for the Israeli state abroad. Because dual citizens, whether they live in Israel and contribute there, or go to their original home country, Britain, America, wherever, then often are defensive toward Israel because they feel a sense of connection to Israel, because that's the place where they're safe. That's the Jewish place, right? And so it's they act as unwitting, in many cases, pro-Israeli spokespeople in communities in a way that they could never do with, like, trying to get spies in or any of that bollocks, right? Because this is absolutely authentic. This is an authentic human being feeling an authentic human emotion based on the extremism they've been pushed into by racism and all the rest of it, and then been inculcated in and gone back to their back to Britain or America and defended that notion that they've completely bought into. And you can't buy authenticity. You can't buy a genuine human emotion. And these people have it in spades. And that's very, very convincing. That's a very convincing argument for a lot of people. Except the Jewish place isn't safe. Oh, Maria, I know that that Israel is not a safe place for Jewish people. I absolutely know that. And I know that Zionists are not a safe group of people for Jewish people to look toward as friends or allies. Because they'll fucking destroy you the second you don't completely comply with them. They'll happily send you to get killed by Hamas or whoever. They'll happily bomb the fuck out of Tehran And then all of the leaders in Israel are happily in bunkers miles under the ground, whilst Tel Aviv is being shelled the shit out of by Iranian bombs. So I know full well it's not safe. I'm just saying that is what the Zionist entity, the system that exists within Israel, tells these people and convinces them of. You know? Just saying. Where was I? Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism of Israel as on the pretext of quote-unquote fighting anti-Semitism. But there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitic patterns recurring, and that fears... Sorry, you've got to give... It's quite small writing, I apologise. Look, I've been able to expand it for you, but that's still very small for me. Gigaday. Historical anti-Semitic patterns recurring, and that fear gives power to the right-wing Zionist claim that only Israel can keep Jews safe. Again, that's sort of the thing I was explaining there about the more isolated Jewish people feel outside of Israel, the more likely it is they're just going to go to Israel. Yeah. Because if they don't feel safe at home, they might as well go to somewhere where they might feel safe. It's that old thing about, like, why would you stick with a thing that you know isn't good when you might be able to go to a thing that might be good? Because you're already guaranteed to lose if you just stay where you are. Whereas if you take the mystery box of living in Haifa or whatever, it might be okay. Who knows? And at least you get nice weather. Like, I've always thought this with British Jews. Like, would you rather stay in Rotherham, in a rainy, like, broken down place, or go and live on the fucking Mediterranean coast? Yeah. Fuck it. Tel Aviv, here I come, you know. Anyway, that's a slightly frivolous point. Does this mean Israel should not be criticised and sanctioned? Absolutely not. But it's something I don't want to risk contributing to if not outweighed by tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. Okay. I think there's a certain point, I think, to that. I think maybe prioritising Zionists' feelings over speaking out in favour of justice is probably a bit of a skewed priority system, but I understand the sensitivity towards not wanting Jewish people to feel othered within your community. I get that. I think that is actually a sensible feeling to have. It's cowardice. Well, 255, what I will say is that I think overall the feeling that I get from Contrapoints is that it is cowardice. But I think the point that she makes there actually is legitimate. I will give her that point. But I think she is being cowardly in not wanting to speak about this, yeah. I've been called both anti-Semitic and a Zionist shill. It's fun. Same here. I've been called anti-Semitic, Zionist, Jewish, Muslim, secret Jewish, secret Muslim. You know. I wonder if a secret Jew is that like a secret agent, but Jewish? James Bondberg. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, NYC guy with 100 bits, who says, there is communal trauma. What about the communal trauma of Palestinians? I think that's, again, another perfectly reasonable point. Secret atheist. Well, I'm one of the least secret atheists ever. I have been very loud about it in many respects. Anyway, what I have not been very loud about is the fact that you can give me money in the form of bits and subs and subscriptions. No, I already said subs, didn't I? So subscriptions, memberships, fucking... Oh, God. I'm worked up. This is the problem. I'm worked up now, and I'm not thinking. Right. If you're on twitch.tv/KevLogan1875, you can hit the follow button. You can subscribe. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can gift subs to the community. You can do bits messages, super chats. You can do Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads. I've got a Discord. I've got PayPal and fucking Patreon. If you're on YouTube, YouTube, you can scare the shit out of me with a super chat. You can. I've switched the thing on. It should work now. You can also become a member for 99 pence or gift memberships to the community. You can. Where was I? Not wrong, am I? What did you write? Jesus was a secret Jew. He wasn't a Christian. Kappa. No, Jesus was a very open Jew. Jesus was very openly Jewish. Like, he didn't see himself as a Christian, because that would be weird and like how narcissistic would you have to be a religious follower of yourself? That would be weird. He considered himself to be an extension of Judaism, a development of Judaism, which isn't really true, but, you know. Jewish people very definitively went, nah, bruv. Nah. You go off and do your own fucking shit, Christians. Go on your way. Which, by the way, is exactly the same reason why Mormons aren't really Christians, as much as they claim to be. Because they've done to Christianity what Christianity did to Judaism. They took a previously existing piece of mythology and added their own weird magical bit at the end. And it became a new religion, right? No one says that Christians are Jews, so why the fuck are Mormons Christians? They're not. It's Christianity with magic pants and more racism. So it's not really Christianity then, is it? It's a different fucking thing. Anyway, by the by. Where was I? Yes. Number 4. Bitterness. Much of the online left spent all of 2024 single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicity of democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. This campaign had the following effects. 0 Palestinian lives were saved, not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. Now, in a very literal sense, that is true. Although I wouldn't say single-mindedly focused, but let's not quibble, right? It was certainly a focus, a very significant focus of the left during 2024. They did focus on the fact that democratic politicians were not adhering to what they wanted, and so they didn't fucking vote for them. The thing I would say here is that the reason that 0 Palestinian lives were saved, and the reason that not one bomb or bullet less was fired by the IDF, is because the democratic president of the United States was not malleable to the will of his electorate, or basic international law, or human decency, and just allowed the IDF to do whatever the fuck it liked for like a year. So it's not that the left caused any of that to happen. The left tried to stop it from happening. And Joe Biden just let it happen. In fact, he actively fucking aided and abetted in this happening. So what I would say to you, or to anyone, Contrapoints, who is like a Democratic Party supporter, strong supporter, shill, whatever, why did Joe Biden not stop a single bomb or bullet being fired by the IDF? Why did Joe Biden not save a single Palestinian life? If he had, a lot of those people might have voted for him. That's okay. Like, that's the end of it then. Okay. As Zoran Mamdani, I think, proved in New York, if you offer progressive people progressive politics, they might vote for you. You might be quite popular. If you offer them a spit in the face, they won't. They just won't, okay? And that's all that Joe Biden, and to be fair, Kamala Harris largely as well, offered to them was, fuck you. we're going to carry on aiding and abetting the genocide. So the people who were against genocide didn't fucking vote for them. And you lost. Bravo. You wanted to go and campaign with Liz Cheney? Fine. Go and fucking lose with Liz Cheney then. Because I'm not part of your fucking team. Where were we? It may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Donald Trump, guaranteeing that the US will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least another 4 years, and making protests against Israel both much riskier and less effective. Okay, what I will say is that there was no pressure on Netanyahu when you had a Democrat as the president. Like, this, you're offering this as if this is a fucking different outcome. And it isn't. There was a Democrat as president, and there was no fucking political pressure whatsoever on Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, that's it. Right? There was no fucking difference fundamentally. Right? And in terms of being protests against Israel much riskier and less effective, I'm sorry, who did the Colombia protests happen under? They happened under Joe Biden, didn't they? So again, there was a Democratic president in the presidency, and they sent in fucking police, like militarized police, to shut it down and to like kick kids out of their fucking educations under a Democrat. That happened under a Democrat. That's it. Like, what fucking fundamental difference did it make? Who got in? The same evil Zionist shit was going to happen regardless. So why the fuck should I vote for your Democratic plate of shit over the Republican plate of shit? All you're offering me is a plate of shit. Now, I'm not an American, so I'm not voting. But I'm arguing the position here, right? I vote in all 50 states on North Korean-made bamboo voting paper, smuggled in by Smartmatic Industries through Maine. I got to the bit where you... okay, to be fair, it's a very small picture on a screen that isn't very well lit because I'm in the dark, right? Don't start with me. Yes, it took me 3 guesses to get to cow. But it's a very small image and my eyesight isn't fantastic at times. Leave me alone. If you weren't around for that earlier, that isn't going to make any fucking sense. But there you go. Also, the really annoying aspect of some of this is that this, I think, goes to show you that the Liberals have learned virtually nothing from their repeated losses now to Donald Trump. They're just going to do the same fucking bullshit. They're just going to do the same, not offering any younger person anything, any reason to vote for them. They're going to put up the same awful shithouse candidates who believe the same awful shit, the same neoliberal bollocks, the same Zionist bollocks, and offer that up to people, and they're going to lose again. This time to the fucking sofa botherer. Or whoever. Fucking, I don't know. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Who fucking knows? God almighty. Anyway, where were we? God, we're getting through this. Oh no, that's the H3. I'm not going to bother with the H3 fucking response. Fuck him. He's not worth it. Less effective. Here we go. Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me, and basically... Oh, pardon me. I'll start that sentence again. Apologies. Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and people, and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly entitled being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. Oh, sorry, perfectly enlightened. Jesus Christ, apologies. It's very small writing. Please forgive me. And yeah, by the way, I'm not suggesting that Trump isn't also a fucking menace to people. Of course he is. Donald Trump should also be at the Hague for his war crimes and his many other fucking crimes. Piece of garbage. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favour, and I will continue to support that cause. TLDR. I see the situation as bleak, intractable, extremely divisive, and devoid of any element that could be appropriately transformed into political entertainment. That's why I haven't made a video about it. Okay, I don't think people were trying to make political entertainment, or asking you to make political entertainment out of it. Why do I get the feeling that this is sort of a precursor to why I left the left? Is it just me getting that vibe right now? This is a kind of ice soft soaked Zionism, and the left didn't like it bit. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully it goes without saying that these are just my thoughts. I'm sure other quote-unquote bread tubers have different opinions. Okay, so that was Contrapoints' thing. What are my thoughts on this? Oh God! I mean, I suppose I've already said my piece. Really, I think this is largely bullshit, and to a certain extent, cope. That she can't take the fact that her left anti-Semitism, vague posting shit has, to some extent, backfired on her. She was trying to be, I think, mostly contrarian rather than anything. And then kind of people started criticising her, and she doesn't appear to be a person who takes criticism very well. Not that I'm necessarily a person who takes criticism enormously well either. By the very nature of our existence on this earth, or as creators, there's a certain thin-skinnedness, whilst also bizarrely a hard skin in a number of other ways as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't survive in this business. It's a strange combination of things. Anyway, I think it's not necessarily cowardice. I think cowardice is probably the wrong word, but like, it's wanting the easier life, I think. Which you can characterise as cowardice, but I think is still probably a little harsh. There needs to be a slightly less harsh word for it. And I'm not necessarily the greatest linguist, so I don't know what that word would be. But I don't think it's necessarily cowardice. It's just wanting a quieter life, right? They don't want to have to deal with this. Which is a certain level of entitlement, I suppose. It's a lot easier to not talk about it when you're not the one on the end of it, right? When you're not the person on the end of the bombs and guns and tanks and planes and stuff, it's a lot easier for you to ignore it. Hope it goes away. But ultimately, I think that the real reason she's doing this is there would be consequences if she did do it. There would be potentially professional consequences, undoubtedly social consequences, financial consequences for doing this. We've seen that again, like with Kneecap and Bob Villan and various other people who have faced real life consequences for standing up for the Palestinian people. And this, unfortunately, whilst it is the individual's issue, the individual's fault, if you will, is also a victory for Zionism. And the reason I say that is that there's a reason that the Hasbro people put out their bullshit. It's a reason that they will viciously go after everyone who even in some slight way shows support for Palestine, or in some slight way has a criticism of Israel. It's the reason they will go after Miss Rachel. It's a reason they'll go after Kneecap or whoever, right? Doesn't matter. Any creative person, any politician, anything, right? It's a reason they spend so much money trying to get like the Squad unseated or whatever. It's not just that they remove those people, okay? It's not just that they get rid of Miss Rachel or Kneecap or whoever. It's what that does in the minds of everybody else. Because no individual action is ever just an individual action. It's that it comes in a social, political, economic context, right? So every single thing that the Hasbro do isn't just targeted specifically at the person they're going after at that particular time. It's targeted psychologically at everyone. Because everyone can potentially see that and react accordingly. I.e., not want that consequence for themselves. It acts as a deterrent, a chilling effect on the freedom of speech, conscience, even freedom of association in terms of protest and things like that, for everybody else. So the kinds of cowardice, if that's what you want to call it, that we see here from people like Contrapoints, although she's by no means the only person or the worst person or anything like that, is precisely, I think, a consequence of the inculcation of fear around daring to speak out. Daring to speak out could really fuck your life up. Because we've seen it fuck up other people's lives. We've seen the way those Columbia kids got absolutely shit on from pillar to post by every powerful institution, including the university that was supposed to be fucking educating them. And that makes people go, do I even want that? Can I handle that? Am I in any situation to speak out about this? Especially when you're in a relatively precarious industry, which of course creative industries, art, whatever you want to call it, is, right? You lose a couple of sponsorships or you lose a platform or something like that because of some Zionist lie, because you spoke out, that can destroy your fucking life. That can lead to bankruptcy, poverty, homelessness and death in extreme cases. And so unfortunately, not only is it the individual cowardice of the person, it's a W for Zionists. And that hurts. That hurts to see. Now, it can be argued to what extent Contrapoints was ever really on the left, but to whatever degree she was at some point, I think she's on the verge of doing a why I left the left type thing, or probably more likely a why the left left me, where she's going to pretend to still be on the left, but not really. Now, I don't see her ever going like full Tim Pool or anything like that. Or fucking Dave Rubin. I can't see her ever becoming that person. But she could become centre-righty. She's rich enough now, you know. Thank you, NYC guy, who says, Kev, do we need a strong anti-Zionist movement now, both in the US and UK? Oh, absolutely we do. Yeah. 100%. 100% we do. Yeah. 100%. No, I don't think she'd ever go Blair White. Because for a start off, I don't see anything about her that's anti-trans. Like, she's not a self-hating trans person in the same way that Blair White clearly is. I think she'll just become like a fucking neo-lib Clintonite shithouse. Possibly. Who knows? I hope I'm wrong. I hope she becomes a based leftoid, but I can't see it. There's no money in that. You know, there's no... You don't become rich doing that. Anyway. Right. Should we do some slop? I think we've covered some serious topics there, albeit in the form of, like, online garbage. But should we do some fucking unadulterated slop? Shall we? Do you want to join me in this journey, chat? I mean, I don't know why I'm asking like I'm giving you an option. It's happening. It's happening. Come to fucking peace with it. Yes, we're going to watch...
It's on the record.
A debate of sorts. Now, this is about Jeffrey Epstein, or more precisely, why Donald Trump, long-term friends with Jeffrey Epstein, doesn't want to reveal the client list of Jeffrey Epstein because he's on it, obviously. Obviously. And they debated this, and an old quote-unquote friend of the channel appears. Shall we take a look?
Look, I want them to release everything, and I've called on that for a long time. I've called on that during...
Shut the fuck up, Ted Cruz. I'm not listening to you, you cunt. I'm just not listening to Ted Cruz. Notably, again, when his state needed him the most, he was abroad.
I don't want to do this anymore!
Okay, I'll try and do that without shitting myself. Notably, when his state needed him, because there were floods, he wasn't to be fucking found. I believe he was in Switzerland this time. Thank you, Tess, who, oh God, says, cover me in slop, Kev, which is genuinely a little bit unsettling. What the fuck? I think we've just found our new profile picture. And then come on. That is fucking mental. Thank you, 255, for being mental.
Winters, the White House correspondent Steve Bannon's war room, commentator and YouTube host Brian Tyler Cohen, streamer and political commentator
Hey, it's Sex Pestiny!
Ben Ferguson, the co-host of The Verdict with Ted Cruz. Well, let me start with you, Ben, given that you work with Senator Cruz a lot. It was great to have him make his uncensored debut, and obviously we focused mainly on the floods, but what he said at the end there was really interesting, I felt, about the Epstein files, because this is raging away. You know, the administration having got everybody very excited. You know, I had one of the administration on uncensored. Alina had. Well, let's remind people what she told me literally like 2-3 months ago.
It is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your...
And now, of course, Donald Trump, when asked about this, was like, oh, well, people still talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sick of talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He could not be more on those fucking logs. He could not more obviously be like clientele number one. Could he? Because apparently there wasn't even any trafficking being done or anything. Which means the late Queen of England paid £12 million to a woman who suspiciously died in a car crash a few months ago. Interesting. Paid £12 million to cover up a crime that didn't happen, because no crimes happened and no trafficking ever happened to nobody nowhere. All I'll say is, a great troll I think we should all do is set our VPNs to Little St. James Island. Because apparently the FBI and the CIA have absolutely no interest in what goes on there. They're not interested in anything that's ever happened there, so it's fine. Just Yeah. They're not going to track you there. Fucking evil cunts.
Process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Now, Ben, that clip has had millions and millions of views this week, understandably, because there's a massive disconnect between what she told me there and what Pam Bondi was saying and what others were saying and what's actually materialized in the last 48 hours. You know, Senator Cruz there very firmly that he wants everything put out and he wants criminal action taken against those who broke the law. What's your view?
Couldn't agree more. Look, I think there's transparency the American people deserve, but not just the American people, most importantly, the victims. They deserve to not have this be covered up in any capacity or for people to just stop looking. I don't know if there's certain information that has disappeared or wasn't there that they thought was there, but at the end of the day, all that we do have needs to be put out there in a responsible way. You have to protect the victims. That is something that's extremely important. And so it's got to be done in an orderly way. But there are too many people that have talked about this on the record saying that there's a lot of stuff out there to then all of a sudden say, all right, well, maybe we don't.
Now, the problem we have is that too many Trump supporters literally don't care. There is nothing Trump could do that would ever make them stop supporting him. Even if it came out that he was on this list.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Fucking hell. Even if it came out that it was... Okay, I can't say this with a laugh. Jesus Christ. Even if it came out with definitive proof that he was the biggest, bestest purchaser of trafficked children in all of those logs, they wouldn't stop. And I give you Exhibit A in this. A person asks on Twitter, would you still support Trump if he raped your daughters? Now, you may notice, without having read it just yet, that that is quite a long answer. Because surely there's only one word needed as an answer to this, which is no. No, I would not support him anymore, because that would be a grotesque crime and a violation of the people I hold dearest to me. A Trump supporter responds, if Trump did that to my daughters, forgiving him would break me, but Jesus calls me to forgive, as he forgave me. I'd need his strength every day. It would be the hardest, holiest act of love I could ever choose, but I would still politically support him as my president. Yes. So, I mean, just to give you some indication there of like how creepy and culty and unsafe all of these people's children are. They're all weird, creepy cunts, man. Holy shit. Also, Brad T. Faciti at Bad Faith Act on Twitter. Don't go and fucking bother this man. He's clearly disturbed enough as it is. You realise you're saying this in public? You realise you're saying this in a venue that any person with access to the internet can potentially see this? Like, for instance, your daughters. Or your wife. Or your employers. Or your neighbours. Or Child Protective Services. Etc, etc. Yeah, maybe seek therapy. You're a fucking disturbed individual.
don't have it, maybe it's not there. Whatever the story is, give it to everyone the same way and make sure you protect those victims, but they deserve justice. And I don't think this is going to be the end of the story. I think there's far too many people that are asking the questions that you just mentioned, that the senator mentioned, that I'm mentioning, and this should be nonpartisan. This should be non-political. You have children that apparently were sex trafficked and abused in horrific ways. That has nothing to do with politics. It should come out whether the people that were the perpetrators of this were liberal or conservative or agnostic. It doesn't matter.
Agnostic.
We need to protect the victims, and we need to make sure things like this never, ever, ever, ever happen again.
Yes, I'm sure. Maybe look into the churches where it happens every fucking week, mate. Thank you, Rachel Atwood, who says, Alina Haber is the dumbest lawyer on earth. I mean, Rudy Giuliani is still a lawyer, I think, in some places. He has been disbarred in certain areas, but I think he is still a licensed law practitioner in some jurisdiction. So, like, that's a hard run title, that one. I don't know who wins it. Is Sidney Powell still a thing? Does she still practice anywhere? Because she was pretty fucking dumb. I don't know, man.
Right, Brian Tyler Cohen, I mean, I do think it's a non-partisan issue. Obviously, nothing is these days, but I do think that it is completely baffling to me, just as a journalist, that you have this extraordinary scandal
like a baby
that rages away for many years. The main perpetrator dies in prison and is believed to have taken his own life, but the only person...
No one believes that, Piers. No one believes that. Not a single person believes that. It's obviously a lie. They're obviously lying. Like, I don't know exactly what did happen in that prison cell. All I'll say is, when the now leader of the FBI had previously said, I've seen the tape myself, and then said, there isn't tape, and now they've released a 10-hour long thing where apparently it shows that nothing happened, I think they might be fucking lying. What are they lying about? Well, whatever it is necessary to cover up the fact that Donald Trump is a massive pedophile. Yeah. Also, not a great look, Piers, that you've got sex pest. You've got a sex pest, allegedly a sex pest on your show here. You've got sex pestiny on your stream to talk about this. I mean, I would get someone, for instance, who doesn't have ongoing legal cases of sex crimes against them to talk about this potential very serious and sensitive sex crimes issue. But that's just me. What do I know?
That's actually been made criminally accountable and is now languishing in prison is Ghislaine Maxwell, his kind of madame figure, who's a woman.
Who presumably is innocent, isn't she? Because apparently, according to the CIA now, nothing happened. Nothing happened whatsoever. It was fine. There was no... So what is she in jail for? What's the crime she supposedly have committed? Because apparently there wasn't any sex trafficking to any clients from anywhere to anywhere. So presumably her lawyers are going to be filing for a retrial then? Based upon this new evidence? Oh no, they're lying. Okay, they're lying. Cool.
Woman. So none of the other men who are widely believed to have been involved in this, none of them have been made accountable. What's your view of this?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that this is a con job by this administration. All of these people, Kash Patel, Alina Habba, Dan Bongino, Donald Trump, all of them came forward.
I wanna be like Dan
Bongino. They were stringing their supporters along, and then the moment they get into power, here we are in a situation where the whole thing is just closed, and we have no further information on this. And yet, look, I think it would be fools to be surprised. I mean, this is a guy at Jeffrey Epstein who Trump himself palled around with for years. This is a guy who Epstein himself called his closest friend.
He also kicked him out of his club.
This is a guy who Jeffrey Epstein said was his closest friend for 10 years. This is a guy who Donald Trump
not what
appointed
he
as
said.
his Secretary of Labor. Alex Acosta, who handed him a sweetheart deal, a non-prosecution agreement where he was out of prison 6 out of 7 days a week. So, look, Trump can say what he wants on the campaign trail in the lead up when he needs to get everybody's votes and pander to the base. But at the end of the day, he's the guy in charge. And suddenly the about face from everybody in his administration, the buck falls to one person. It's not Alina Habba or Carolyn Levitt or Dan Bongino or Kash Patel. It's Trump himself.
Right. I mean, Natalie,
Yeah, we can't mention the name of the great Dan Bongino without doing the song.
I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna see Patricia McCloskey. I wanna scream for the GOP. I wanna sit with Dan Bongino. I wanna show the American flag.
This is, well, okay. Do we know where this person is? Do we know that Nick Lutzko is not currently in El Salvador? Because he made this song before Mr. Bongino became very, very powerful in law enforcement. So do we know that this person is still alive?
Eggs behind the toilet in grandma's basement. I wanna ask if you'll be my dad. I wanna change my name to Nick Bongino. I wanna tell him about the man in the stairs. He kinda looks like Dan Bongino. Grandma tries to tell me not to go down there, but I would be safe with Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino.
Fuck yeah.
I don't want to do
Interesting.
this.
Oh, you can't follow up Dan Bongino under the stairs by scaring me. That's not fair. I'm sat in the dark. I've just had to deal with the Dan Bongino under the stairs monster, and now I've just shat my fucking pants. Are you happy with yourself? Sorry. What's this? Sorry, I know you get less for super chats. Can't join on iOS. Wolfpet, I appreciate you nonetheless, my friend. I will spend all of the money you've just sent to me on laundry, because these trousers are going to need to be washed thoroughly. But I appreciate you nonetheless, friend. Thank you.
in terms of the timeline here, is that when Elon Musk fell out pretty spectacularly and suddenly with Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, did you see Elon Musk's new thing today? Turn the sound off. Never. Did you see the Elon Musk's new thing today? He was accusing Steve Bannon of being on the Epstein lists. By the end of the year, I expect he will have accused every single person he's ever met of being on the fucking Epstein lists, man. You were on the Epstein lists, and you were on the Epstein lists. Everybody's on the Epstein lists. Oh.
One of the things he posted on his X platform was, bombshell.
X.
The biggest bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein files, right? And that was only a few weeks ago. And since then, there seems to have been a concerted effort for this story to just go away. Now, these two things may be completely unconnected. There may be nothing more.
No, I suspect they're very, very connected. I'm certain, because Donald Trump is an absolute ghoul, right? Donald Trump is a piece of shit. I'm sure he's so happy that those floods happened in Texas. He's so fucking happy inside that those floods happened. Because they've taken the heat off the... Well, why aren't you releasing the Epstein lists? Because you're not on them, clearly, obviously. You've said you're definitely not. You're not a pedophile, obviously. So just release them then. What's going on? What's going on, Mr. Trump? Why aren't you releasing them, Mr. Trump? Whereas now it's like, oh, dead children in Texas, and Donald Trump's off playing golf. What a cunt. Thank you, Dr. Phil Decker, with 100 bits. He says, I've seen this list. Harry Hill being on there was unexpected. You know what, that would break my fucking heart. If it turned out that Harry Hill was a nonce, that would fucking kill me, because Harry Hill, the original. No, I'm not talking about like modern Harry Hill with the fucking TV burp nonsense, because I think that's boring as shit. But the original Harry Hill with the little fucking badger puppets and stuff, way back in the day, that Harry Hill was the fucking shit. He got fat, old, and lazy. But it would still hurt me enormously if he became a pederast at any point in his life. Fact.
To it, other than Trump obviously was seen
Like,
around.
I still miss listening to the Michael Jackson music. It's some of the most beautiful music ever made. But I can't listen to it, because I'm just thinking in my head, oh no, he non-stop them babbies. That's all I can think in my head is, oh, he's a fucking pederast. And it's ruined. It's not the same experience anymore. Do you know what I mean? Badger pup. Oh, for fuck's sake! Am I gonna have to educate you on early Harry Hill? Was it Badgers? I think it was Badgers. Yeah, here we go. No, hang on. Is it? Yeah, here we go. The Badgers. He was on the thing called the Harry Hill Show with a very young Al Murray.
So, to conclude then, by signing this contract, you commit yourselves to 8 shows and a Christmas special. If you break the terms at any time, my client can dismiss you with 1 week's notice. Just sign here.
There's definitely no parade.
Parade's off.
We'll sign!
Chicken in a plain naan. What's going on here? Go suck, Gay Badger. Where do you think you're going?
You've tried it on once too often, you pink-skinned toff.
Yeah, but you should have had me on from the start. Michael Owen Badger, not you as well. You can't leave now. I've got Little and Large and a pirate ship and everything.
You agreed, no parade. And that finale is a parade by any other name.
I don't know what you mean, I'm sure.
Here we are, page 4, finale. Badgers in ceremonial costumes march across front in step. If that's not a parade, I'm Jerry Haynes.
You'll just have to get the owls to do it.
I don't want the owls to do it. I don't want anybody else.
When I think about you, I touch myself. I don't want anybody else.
Okay, so he's singing a song about masturbation whilst hugging 3, let's be honest, fursonas. That's what's taking place here. This was the early outing of fur culture in the UK. This broke a lot of eggs, I think, back in the day.
You're the one that makes me come running. You're the sun that makes me shine.
Is that Cannon and Ball? Oh my fucking god. I don't remember this. God, this is trippy.
When you're around, I'm always laughing. I wanna make you mine. I close my eyes and see you.
What is happening? There's a fucking crocodile. That's Al Murray. That's Al Murray. That's a fucking crocodile. Oh no. Oh, Little and Large, sorry. There we go. Little and Large singing about wanking. Brilliant. Ah, fucking crikey almighty. I had to clip that moment. What? What are you talking about? Oh. Fuck yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Interesting.
Oh, you can't follow up Dan Bongino under the stairs by scaring me. That's not fair. I'm sat in the dark. I've just had to deal with the Dan Bongino under the stairs monster, and now I've just shat my fucking pants. Are you happy with yourself? Fair dues.
And Epstein, they clearly were very friendly for a while. I think he used his plane.
They clearly were very friendly for a while. And you backed him 3 times for president. You cunt. Before I leave for work... What work do? You work nights, Phantom? Good lord. I think I have a new lyric for the song. I want to be on the Epstein list. I want to be there with Dan Bongino. I don't know. It's not as charming. I'll be honest with you. It's not as charming or innocent when it's like, I want to be accused credibly of raping children, like Dan Bongino. Do you know what I mean?
Several times. I don't think that's in dispute. But there does
Michael
seem to be
Owen
a
Badger.
weird timeline
Fuck
here
yeah.
of Elon Musk
Mad.
saying that publicly and everything.
Yeah, Michael Owen was a turncoat. Fucking knob. And he played for Real Madrid. Wanker.
Getting shut down a few weeks later. What, am I reading too much into this?
Well, look, I think this is very quickly approaching. I mean, we've already passed debacle territory, but just outright grift, and that's probably not something that you would expect me to say, but this is just absolutely reprehensible. I think if you look at what really the MAGA base, the people who elected President Trump, what their sort of concerns have been these past few months is that the administration is not moving fast enough, right? They're not content with the...
Okay, dickhead, right? No one is saying the only thing anyone cares about is fucking Jeffrey Epstein. But, like, Trump clearly is aware that his base cares about Jeffrey Epstein to some extent. Because otherwise, why would Trump have promised to release this information? Why would he have gotten fucking libs of TikTok and those other rubes to stand outside the White House with folders of documents that had been redacted so that there was no new information in them? He realises that people do want this to be resolved. But he realises that if that did happen, he'd be in jail forever.
Press releases and the tweets. They want to see prison sentences and actual accountability for people that they believe committed crimes. Now we've hit the point where we're not even getting the press releases or the strongly worded letters. We're getting weird, undated, unnamed memos being released over holiday weekends to legacy media outlets trying to bury it in Axios instead of working with all the new media outlets that the White House, pumped and talked so openly and heavily about being in and around the White House. I mean, this is a bedrock issue. I agree it's nonpartisan, it's non-political to want to get justice for the victims, but I also think that this is something that is both hyper-partisan and hyper-political, because what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, whether it's a foreign intel operation or domestic aside or joint operation, has direct ramifications and probably the policies that we've seen being rolled out, whether through blackmail indirectly or directly through a lot of the political leaders in this nation. I would just say, as someone who has been...
No, but they revealed there was no blackmail because they weren't being trafficked to anywhere at all. So it's fine. Don't ask any questions.
On shows, co-hosted with a lot of the people, the clips that we've played of people who have called out Jeffrey Epstein for years and made millions of dollars off of it. It is absolutely reprehensible and it is a complete grift. And you have now, in their words, probably become the...
Are there any players you don't hate for playing for Franco? I'm sorry, I'm in Real Madrid. Well, I like Jude Bellingham because he's from Birmingham, and that is it. The rest of them are all fucking rapists and fascists and shitbags. All of them. Every single one of them. Especially Kylian Mbappe. For legal reasons, I have no reason to suspect that Kylian Mbappe has committed any crimes.
The deep state, if you're going to run cover for this and you think that the MAGA audience is dumb enough to not, be able to go back 2 months and see the comments you were making on Fox News, we need to get this right. I don't even know if I have faith in Pam Bondi anymore, but this is a really, really concerning moment for MAGA.
Yeah, Destiny, it is fascinating to see how
Yes, let's turn to a sex pest, allegedly, to talk about this. Someone with good, clean sexual ethics and morals to give us the kind of clarity we need on this very sensitive topic.
One of the most die-hard Trump supporters in the kind of podcast, YouTube, influencer world, they've turned pretty vengefully against him and the administration over this. What do you make of it?
So here's the reality. The reality is, I keep hearing people like Joe Rogan saying the conspiracy theorists ended up being right about everything. They weren't. They were wrong about basically every single thing. There was no massive election fraud. There were no mass deaths from the COVID vaccine. There is no evidence that it was manufactured in a laboratory. There is no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered by somebody. The reality is every single thing I said is true, and I will debate you on any platform over that. So please stop. Please stop.
You're saying wasn't true.
You have
That's where you
no
lose
idea what
credibility.
you have
Well,
no idea.
well, hang on,
Sir,
Destiny, hang on, Destiny, hang on.
Please stop.
Hang on, Destiny.
Let me finish my point. Excuse me.
Rubble.
Let me finish my point. The problem is that the problem is that you guys spent so much time spreading these conspiracies that when you finally wound up, sir, I don't even know if you know. Do you even believe that viruses and germs are real? I'm not actually sure. Please stop.
I do.
The problem is that conservatives spent all this.
But what I don't get with this particular conspiracy is that if you're a Trump supporter who believes there has been mass deaths because of the COVID vaccine, then surely you have to believe that Donald Trump knowingly and willingly fast-tracked the COVID vaccine in order to kill all of those people. And yet you still support him to be president, even though he is a mass murderer. Cognitive dissonance, anybody?
This time, conservatives spent all this time. Conservatives spent all. Well, if you want to bring me on your show, I'll talk about it anytime, anywhere. Okay? Conservatives spent all this time.
I don't insult my audience with stupid
Well,
comments.
hang on. Let me jump in. Let me just jump in on this point.
Excuse me. Can I wait? Hold on. Wait.
Destiny. Destiny.
Let me wait.
Well, you made a series of statements there about.
And I'm almost done with like one sentence.
All right.
Conservatives spent all this time with all these conspiracies, and then as soon as they got into office and they no longer had a deep state to blame, all of a sudden there was no election fraud evidence. There was no evidence about Hunter Biden being conspiratorial, with Ukraine or Russia. There was no evidence of Epstein being murdered, and that's what's happened.
Okay.
They are now the deep state. They have every part of the government under control, and they have no evidence for any of their claims.
But here's the problem.
And that's it.
Here's the problem. You've made a series of statements there, alleging that all these things are pure conspiracy theories and there's no evidence for it. And yet it is widely now accepted that actually it is more likely than not that the coronavirus, COVID-19, was started in that lab. That is now widely accepted. That's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not. It is a conspiracy.
It began as a conspiracy theory.
I promise you, there is no scientific evidence. There is no compelling intelligence community evidence that is the case.
So you think, Destiny, to be clear,
away all the samples.
hang on.
How the fuck has this become a debate about Chinese bat anus flu again? What the fuck is this? Destiny's such a knobend that he can't just debate the thing that's being talked about. He has to be like, bring up some irrelevant shit about like COVID. Who the fuck's talking about fucking COVID? Oh my god. Look, I'm not even contesting that the thing he said was right or wrong. There was no need to even bring it up. It's just derailed this entire conversation now.
You'll say, let me have mine. Let me finish my sentence. No, here's the thing, Destiny. You think it's literally a conspiracy theory that COVID-19, which was originally said to have started in a wet market 1 mile from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where it later transpired they were testing new coronaviruses. You think it is more likely it started with a bat in the wet market next door than it started in the lab where they're literally testing new coronaviruses? You think that's a mad conspiracy? Because I would say the mad conspiracy is that it's the bat a mile away.
I'm gonna go with the wet market that was 30 minutes away in a densely populated city where all of the first cases started.
It's less
Probably
than a
the
mile
market
away.
that came from there.
Sponsored by the Chinese Communist Party? I'm just curious.
30 minutes away. Chinese Communist Party. Sir, you are an absolute idiot. I can't believe you would
No, are
say
they
that.
like? Is it like
guys
when you do your shows like
just
brought
to
to
be
you by
clear,
the Chinese
just to be
Communist
clear,
Party?
just to be
Like,
clear, just to be
that's
clear,
some
that
rich
it's funny that you say
propaganda, bro.
it's funny that you say Communist Party, right? Just to be clear, the residents of Kerr County for the floods that we were just discussing rejected utilizing ARPA funds for years to put up. It's so funny. Ted Cruz talked about an emergency siren system. They didn't want to use money from the Biden administration because of all of these crazy conspiracies that you guys spread about things like COVID, because they thought if they accepted the money,
I know
the
about
transcripts
that,
are
but-
public. The
but this
transcripts
is
are
what you
public,
call-
sir.
Hey,
I'm sorry, hold on. Are
this
you
is
telling
what
are you telling me they
call
didn't say that? Are you
moving
telling
from
me they
Wuhan
didn't say
'cause
that?
We're kicking your ass, and you made up something to try to go back and use.
What the fuck is this conversation now? What is this? Chat, what is going on here? I wanted some crazy shit about Trump being a nonce, and now they're going on about fucking bat bollock anus flu.
Use kids that have died in a tragedy to cover the fact that you cannot defend your Wuhan point of view because it's made out of Chinese communist.
Surely it's woo-woo Han. Cause woo-woo anyway.
Propaganda. I think everyone watching can see that now, and I think you realize you stepped in it and you said something that wasn't true, and everyone that has a brain on this panel is calling you out for it because it was such a stupid thing to say. I'm sorry that happened to you, but you don't
If
use
that's the
kids
ca-
dying in a
hey,
flood
you know what?
to
If
try
that's
to
the ca-
cover for
sir,
your
please.
dumbass
Oh
comment.
my God. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
If you
by
wanted to-
the
if you
way,
wanna
I want to
argue-
bring
if
the
you wanna
others
argue
in.
this-
I want to
if you
bring the
wanna
others
argue
in
this topic
too.
anywhere, I
Hang
would
on,
gladly
hang on.
argue
Don't
with it.
all
I'm just
shadow
saying,
once.
so everybody can see who's running from it, okay?
Don't all shadow once. Let me bring Brian back in here. See, this is the interesting thing, I think, Brian. I read what Joe Rogan put out about conspiracy theories. He was really saying, what he was saying was, don't just dismiss them all out of hand, was his real theme about this. Because a lot of things that are alleged to be conspiracy theories, and the COVID lab one is a classic example where that began as being something that could get people cancelled if they even dared suggest it, and is now, the US CIA believes that a research-related origin in Wuhan in the lab is more likely than the theory it came from animals. So the CIA now believe that. So it's no longer a conspiracy theory. But Brian, I think it goes...
Well, but don't the CIA also believe that Jeffrey Epstein definitely killed himself and that there was no trafficking? There was no trafficking. No one needs to look into it. It's absolutely fine, honest. Also, it's the CIA. Why would I listen to a word they have to say about anything? They're fucking useless.
Goes to a wider point, is that take the Epstein story, right? I don't know whether he took his life or was murdered or whatever. It seems that most people who've looked at this professionally believe he took his life. But there's this weird video with the missing minute and Pam Bondi's torturous explanation for what that may be about. There's also the undeniable fact that he surrounded himself with a myriad number of famous, rich, powerful people who would have a vested interest in shutting him up. That is indisputable. There are also all these rumors flying around, which, even Alan Dershowitz thought there may be some merit to this when I interviewed him on Monday, that he may have been some kind of Israeli Mossad agent of some sort. You put all this together, and again, it's very easy to say, well, it's all a conspiracy theory, to say that he did anything other than he took his life and nobody else was involved.
There's an obvious connection because we know that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a Mossad agent. That's not a conspiracy. That's not like a conjecture on my part. Like, we know that that's true. Robert Maxwell, the former owner of the Mirror paper group, worked for Mossad. For many years, in fact. Using his connections in media to quell stories that the Mossad didn't want in the British media, and indeed to promote stories they did want in the British media. He also, by the way, after his death, it was found out he'd stolen millions of pounds from the Mirror Group's employees' pension fund. Because, corruption breeds corruption, of course. So the fact that his daughter might have also been a Mossad agent is not, crazy, I don't think. There's an obvious there's an obvious contact point there, Just saying.
No client list. Nobody else abuses girls. It's over. I don't think that's the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy that's going on right now, it seems to me, is a conspiracy of shutting this down, of silencing debate about it, wanting to move on, and for actually nobody other than Ghislaine Maxwell to be held accountable when it is. I mean, look, take Prince Andrew, right, in my country. Prince Andrew.
Sweaty nonce.
Paid Virginia Giuffre a reported $11 million.
It was the Queen, and it was 12 million, but okay.
Dollars, right? But claimed he never met her, right? But there's a photograph of him with his arm around her when she was 17, 18 in a London townhouse. Now, you know, call me a conspiracy theorist, but you don't give $11 million to someone you've never met, right? I don't care who you are. So, again, a lot of the stuff swirling around here doesn't make a lot of sense. And I don't think it's good enough for people just to say it's all conspiracy theory. So shut up and move on. Your thoughts?
I would completely agree. And in fact, we saw yesterday when the White House was posed these questions, Trump freaked out and said, whoa, why are we still talking about this? Like, can't we talk about something? You've got Donald Trump, who has spent every waking minute of the past almost decade talking about the water pressure in his shower and toilet. That guy suddenly doesn't want to engage in a topic that he's spoken about.
That's not true. He's also spent some time talking about how the windmills kill birds, because his understanding of the world is that of a 6-year-old.
Before, we've heard him go on and on about immigrants being rapists and murderers every day. We've heard him go on and on for the better part of a decade about Hillary Clinton's crimes and the Biden crime family. This guy repeats himself like to the ends of the earth. And yet on the issue of Epstein, which by the way was an issue that his campaign predicated so much of their focus on, that they garnered so much support from their audience based on, now he doesn't want to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I guess the expression that would come to mind is a hit dog will holler.
Well, also, again, I repeat, this follows just literally whatever it was 3-4 weeks ago, Elon Musk in their big...
Like, he's a lib, but Brian Taylor Cohen is like... I think he's one of the libs that, come the revolution, I'll put a good word in for and try and save. And probably be taken down myself as a counter-revolutionary. I imagine.
Public spat, suddenly posting... You know, the big bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein file. So it might be
a move, by the way, that started a conversation about deporting Elon Musk, in case you were wondering whether there was any there. So yeah, I mean, clearly that he hit a mark by or he hit a nerve by saying stuff like that. But I mean, for this administration to try and brush it under the rug, and Natalie, I do agree with what you said.
You can tell how obviously these Trump people know that Trump is up to his neck in this shit. Up to his fucking neck in it. Because Trump people are never this passive. Trump people are never this quiet when they think they've got a point. Or they think they've even got some rhetoric they can come up with. You saw earlier with this Wuhan shit and like the viruses and the vaccines or whatever, right? They go on constantly because all they know is attack. It's the Steve Bannon model, right? Attack, attack, attack. And if you're wrong, just double down and attack more, right? That's all they can do. They have one setting and that's it. Except, of course, they know he's on these lists. They fucking know he's on these lists. And so they sit by passively and just let Brian Taylor Cohen basically say, oh, no, Trump's a nonce. Trump's obviously a nonce. Elon Musk knows he's a nonce. Elon Musk is probably also a nonce. And the fact that he called him a nonce is the reason that he threatened to fucking throw him out of the country. And none of them have tried to interject on that. On fucking bat flu, they'll interject like fuck. On Trump being a nonce, they know they've got no argument.
About there being a lot of grifters. I mean, we've seen Dan Bongino and Kash Patel
I wanna
focus
be
so
like
much
Dan
energy, so many
Bongino.
resources, so much time on this exact issue, only for them to come out and say, "Oh, well, there's there's absolutely nothing here." But I would also caution Natalie to not put the onus, because I've been seeing this more and more on the right, to not put all of the responsibility on Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is an appendage of Donald Trump. She is not calling the shots. Nobody in this administration is calling the shots. This entire cabinet, this entire White House exists to serve Donald Trump. They exist to basically be extensions of Trump himself, and no one will ever act independently of him. And so if accountability is really what you're looking for here, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that this is all being done in good faith, then let's not delude ourselves into thinking that
Was Epstein smart enough to, oh, by the way, thank you, Rachel. Was Epstein smart enough to be in Mossad though? Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to be particularly smart to be in Mossad. I don't think smart is necessarily the thing. Mossad people get caught all the fucking time. It's just they get extradited. They just get kicked out of a country. There have been also... There was a case a few years ago of Mossad agents in Britain who had a bag full of fake British passports, which presumably they were using to come in and out of the country as fake people. And they were just extradited. And those passports were just seized. It's not a big deal. Like, it's you don't have to be super smart. You just have to be completely amoral. And they'll have you. They don't give a fuck. You don't even have to be, like, pro-Jewish. You can be a fucking neo-Nazi for all they care. As long as you're prepared to work for them and do whatever it is they need you to do. Yeah, they'll have you. And he ran a very successful, and I say successful in the sense of accomplishing a task, not like morally successful, but a very successful honeypotting operation for years and years and years. We've all seen the Black Book, right? We've all seen Epstein's fucking logbooks. He had the access to every fucker. Anyone who was rich and famous he had access to. Now, does he have compromat on every single person there? No. But he wouldn't need to. He'd only need compromat on 10% of them. And he'd be a very powerful man. The fact that he probably had compromat on more than half of them means he's one of the most powerful people in the fucking world. Because he has people in every corridor of power who he can manipulate. On behalf of who? Who knows? Maybe we never will. But he'd be a very, very powerful person for any organisation like Mossad or the CIA or MI5 or anyone to have access to, wouldn't he? Very powerful. Oh, Rusty eating an apple. Fuck yes. Papa dog. That is a healthy, beautiful pupper eating an apple. Nothing more needs to be said. Ironic that a dog starts barking outside as soon as I fucking said that. I don't know if that's picking up on the mic or not, but there is a dog barking.
Pam Bondi is the final word, or that the buck stops with her, when the buck always stops with Donald Trump. I'm
sure that there's merit to that. Let me come to you, Natalie, because Elon Musk has also suggested that Steve Bannon, that you work with, obviously, is in the Epstein files too. What can you say about that? I mean, what's the reaction to that, first of all?
What more can you say about that? What are you expecting her to say exactly? Like, yes, I'd like to confirm officially on your show that my employer is in fact a pederast. Yes, my employer has used the services of child exploitation trafficking rings for many years, in fact. This is the official position of Steve Bannon Incorporated. What are you expecting her to fucking say there?
Well, I'll always let Steve speak for himself, but I can guarantee you, Steve is certainly not in the Epstein files. Perhaps Elon needs to both be deported and sued for defamation. But look, I think, in a rare moment...
The girlies are fighting.
I probably actually agree with Brian. I think that was why the Trump administration wanted to prioritize transparency, at least in their...
Well, Steve Bannon probably is one of the few people who would be capable of destroying Elon Musk, because A, Steve Bannon clearly still has a significant pull on Donald Trump, and B, Steve Bannon is a lot more capable as a political operator than Elon Musk. Steve Bannon, for whatever you think of him, is not a stupid man. Elon Musk is a stupid man. Elon Musk is a drug addict as well. Now, that is not necessarily a moral failing, it is a medical problem, but it is a medical problem that has various side effects, up to and including incredibly irrational behaviour, which can be exploited by clever, powerful, sinister people, like Steve Bannon.
rhetoric, right, from the first days. They wanted the American people to be able to decide on all of this. And I think that that sort of compounded with what they were trying to do, right, with the new media initiative, bringing in these other voices to try to, I think, go away from just having legacy media outlets dominate certain narratives or sort of setting the parameters for what stories are of interest to the American people. And I think when you talk about transparency, I don't know if the Chinese Communist Party or right now the Trump administration or whoever it may be, deep state, take your pick, is engaging in more of a cover-up when it comes to whether it's the Epstein files or the origins of COVID, respectively. I think that's a rather asinine point. But to link it all back to what you...
I don't think that is an asinine point. I think that's a rather important point. If the Chinese Communist Party are hiding their complicity in the outbreak of COVID and the millions of deaths that ensued from that, I'd say that's a very, very pertinent piece of information. If Donald Trump is hiding the fact that he and possibly other powerful people were on the Epstein lists and he is protecting those people, I'd say that's very, very pertinent, actually. Yeah.
You were saying, Piers, I think labeling all these things at the onset, rather, a conspiracy theory, compounding with, I think, a lot of sort of the censorship apparatus that we saw spring up under Joe Biden, you sort of get...
Dickhead, you're supporting the government that is now blocking people from entering the country because they've got memes about J.D. Vance. Don't you fucking dare talk about the censorship apparatus put forward by anybody else. You fucking love censorship apparatus. You tried to have someone thrown out for daring to say free Palestine, yet him blackbagged and sent to fucking El Salvador. Shut the fuck up.
Get that same reaction to what people had when President Trump was sitting in his cabinet meeting and saying, why are people interested in this? Why are people looking at that? It just makes people double down. So even if you want to be pragmatic, respectfully, Destiny, saying that there's no evidence, I think you can agree that there is at least one piece of evidence that may intimate that COVID-19 developed in the Wuhan Institute of Virology under Shi Zhengli. I just think these draconian statements make people not more likely to sort of entertain the other side of the fence, but it makes people think that there actually are conspiracies going on to cover up information.
Yeah, I would agree. And Destiny, I'm going to take you up on... Hang on, Destiny, I'm going to ask you a question. Destiny, I'm going to ask you a question. So let
this was under Biden? I'm pretty sure that was under Trump. So if you want to blame anybody for the censorship, it would have been Trump. I know
let me ask you a question, Destiny.
President there, but...
Destiny, I want to ask you a question. So a woman called Kylie Jane Kramer posted on X, I've been trying to wrap my head around how the flooding in Texas became so devastating so quickly. Why not evacuate? Then I saw this. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 46 minutes around 4 a.m. That doesn't even seem natural. To which you reposted this and you put your own words. I heard...
Oh, Jesus Christ, Destiny, you, you horrible little cunt. Jesus fuck, I hadn't even seen this. Oh my God. I don't know if I've got him blocked or like muted or whatever, because I don't want to see this cunt's fucking nonsense. I heard God killed those kids because they were using @NordVPN brackets promo code Destiny close brackets to get around the Texas porn ban. Oh, what are you doing? Don't fucking advertise your shit on the back of these deaths. What the fuck, man? Oh, you're demented. You're demented. You're wrong. You're broken in the mind. You can't feel for any human being, can you? Fucking hell.
God killed those kids because they were using NordVPN, promo code Destiny, to get around the Texas porn ban. On reflection, do you think that was grotesquely tasteless thing to be posting?
Absolutely not. The hand wringing, the hand wringing here. Oh my God! Stop. If you want to talk about dead children, then you should talk about the residents of Kerr County who rejected using ARPA funds to build the very site.
Why would you think he would give a fuck about 100 dead kids in Texas? Or whatever, a dozen, 50, 70, I don't know. Dead kids in Texas. He doesn't give a fuck about tens of thousands of dead kids in Palestine. By comparison, this is Destiny at his most morally correct. Or least morally incorrect, I suppose. Like, by comparison to his, like, fucking IDF-funded trip to Israel, this is nothing. This is small fry.
Siren system that Ted Cruz was over here virtue signaling about. Now that the kids are dead, last I checked, the siren system isn't bringing anybody back to life. Okay, the very same system that they could have built for the better part of the last decade. They didn't want to touch those ARPA funds because they thought that if they did, Biden would go and steal their homes, which is the exact same lie that was told in North Carolina when people were rejecting FEMA funds because they thought that if the government was giving them money for their houses, they'd steal it. If you want to talk about grotesque.
To be fair, he is consistent in that he doesn't care about kids, including his own, probably, I imagine.
And ghoulish things that are being said.
It's what you put online. I agree with you. It's what you wrote online. It is grotesque. It's disgusting. But I mean, I guess that's what you do.
How long have people like you told us that if we spend less money in Ukraine, you guys are going to spend more money investing in things like infrastructure in the United States? Where is that money going?
We just had another
massive debt increase. Another massive debt increase for more tax cuts for wealthy people.
Like, Trump people are never more disgusting than when they try to virtue signal and grandstand about the deaths of kids or whatever. But Destiny is such a repulsive individual that he's actually making this fucking ghoul, this fucking suit wanker, seem not crazy by comparison.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
All right, let me get a Ben.
How's that deficit doing?
Don't talk over each other.
How's our deficit doing? Is it going up or down?
Don't talk over each other. But just to be clear, Destiny, you don't.
No answers.
Just to be clear, Destiny.
I'm going to talk.
Please stop talking.
I'm not going to sit here and argue about jokes when these guys are spreading lies that are leading to the actual destruction of these. Oh, except you guys do when it happens in LA when it's about the wildfires. You guys make jokes when politicians are getting killed in Minnesota.
Go look at my ex
account. Just the rest of your party is. Just the rest of your party is.
Don't talk over each other because we can't hear you.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
All right. But Destiny, just to be clear, Destiny, just to be clear, you don't regret posting. I heard God kill those kids. They were using NordVPN to get around the Texas swarm ban.
Well, you allow the very same misinformation to spread on this program that leads to people not putting up siren systems, okay, because they think that Biden is going to go steal their homes.
That wasn't my question.
I think it is absolutely insane.
Wasn't my question.
I think it's insane that you want to go and hand-wring liberals over jokes that are not even half as crazy as some of the things these conservatives say.
Okay, but just to be clear, you don't regret doing it.
There's no tweet like that out there.
Okay, just to be.
Oh, is it? Okay, hang on. So is it not actually his promo code then? Because that's the thing that I was sort of like mostly annoyed about, is if that was actually his promo code. Like if he was actually trying to make money out of this. If it's just a joke, then it's like, it's still pretty fucking gross in all honesty, but like I'm sort of less morally aggrieved by the thing. Because you're saying they usually have numbers at the end. They don't always have numbers at the end. That's the thing I'm worried about. It's still, you know, it's rough. It's still a fucking bad joke and he shouldn't have said it, but if he's not trying to make money out of it, then I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Wait, I mean, it does matter. No, not a real promo code. Okay, then, I mean, I'm less bothered then, I guess. Which one is the lefty in this portrait meeting? There's Brian Tyler Cohen, the black t-shirt guy, in right in the centre there, who he's not really left as such, but he's kind of he's on the left side of liberal, I would say. But yeah, and that's about as left as you get. In theory, I think Destiny is viewed as left, according to Piers Morgan, because he's anti-Trump. But that's about it. The fact that he's like massively pro-Israel or whatever is seemingly irrelevant.
Clear, Destiny.
Absolutely not.
Just to be clear, you don't regret posting it.
No, absolutely.
Okay, Ben Ferguson.
Here's a couple of things here that I think there's proper information that should get out there. This is an area that I go to often. It's an area that I've taken my kids dozens and dozens of times. It's a very small rural community. When it rains there's always flooding because there's a lot of rock in the ground and the water doesn't absorb in the ground, so you have flash floodings that happen very quickly. I've been there when this happens. This was a once-in-a-lifetime 100-year flood. If you want to know about the funding for the system, it's an extremely small community, and the price tag for it is very, very big compared to the tax base that they have in this small community. It is not because of the Matt Boone stuff this guy's talking about. That is not why the community decided 6 years ago to not do it, even though they wanted to. It was a cost issue. What's going to happen now is you're going to have state funds and federal funds, and that system will happen. But go back to this once-in-a-lifetime flood that took place. No one could have prepared or thought this was going to happen. People bought homes on a river.
Why are you hang on. If it happens once in every 100 years, surely they must have known it was going to happen at some point. Because it happens, roughly speaking, every 100 years. Which is not that massive a span of time. Really? In theory, a person could live from one flood to the next flood. As a baby in the first instance, and a very old person in the second. So it's not that massive amount of time, really, is it? Really something the government, both locally, statewide and nationally, should take into account, considering it's a relatively regular occurrence. If people live in that area, they need to be protected, and they weren't.
Where there's constant flooding, where they're built high enough up that flooding has never gotten there before in the history of their lifetime. So this is a tragedy.
Wow, in the history of their lifetime? Because it's once in every 100 years and most people aren't 100, you prick. Yeah. Wow, this thing that we know happens once every 100 years hasn't happened in the 37 years I've been around. How could I possibly have expected it then? Oh, what the fuck? Isn't the guy on the right a podcast co-host with Ted Cruz? Yes, he is. Yes, he fucking is.
Tragedy that took place. And by the way, this is personal because I know people who lost children. There are funerals that are taking place.
Just to be clear, you're saying that there aren't
talking about a funeral for a second?
You're saying
Let him
after
finish,
coming up like 15 times. So you're saying there are no citizens saying that they don't want to use the American Rescue Plan funds. They didn't want to use that money because they thought Biden would take their homes.
I'm going to go back to what I said.
That transcript doesn't exist.
Can you let Ben finish, given he was talking about the funerals of dead children?
I have friends whose kids
Please let him
died.
finish what he was saying.
He doesn't care. As long as he admits he doesn't give a fuck about the dead kids. That's okay.
You know what, Destiny? You don't give a fuck about the dead kids, do you?
Admit it. I do.
Because you thought it was funny. You thought it was...
Piers Morgan did a sweary poo. God, this is sloppy. Even for the standard of fucking Piers Morgan, this is slop. You don't give a fuck about the kids.
Funny.
Voting to take money away
You
from
thought
these
it was
things.
funny to go on X and talk about, I heard God killed those kids because they weren't using a NordVPN to get around the Texas porn ban. That is disgusting. You're the one using dead children in a grotesque manner. So let me just lay that down for the record.
Just to be clear, let me...
John, jokes on Twitter don't kill people. Rappers do. Call the police. Woo, woo, woo. To totally misquote the song. Look how sad he is. Look how sad Ted Cruz's friend is that he didn't get to morally grandstand about the dead kids at the funeral. I was going to have a really good point to try and shame everybody.
Lay it down as well. How many people did my joke kill?
No, it's just disgustingly tasteless.
Exactly. You're a sick man.
And then how many kids died because there's no siren system because people like this guy over here made up the lie that Biden was going to steal your homes if you accept the American Rescue Plan. If you accept American Rescue Plan money. Exactly.
I never made that up.
The difference is
I would like to hear Ben. I would like to hear Ben finish the story he was telling us.
What story? The story's going to be there were kids at a funeral, and that's really sad. Boo fucking who? He doesn't care. He doesn't give two fucks about these dead kids. He just wants to morally grandstand. He just wants to be like, oh, see, everyone should be, anyone who has a different opinion to me should feel shame because they don't know all of the dead kids.
talking about the funerals of dead children. Let him finish that, please.
Would it be nice if we didn't have the funerals? Wouldn't that be better?
Can we mute it?
Rather than you talking about why you were right to crack.
Wouldn't it be better, Destiny, if we didn't have the burials of tens of thousands of Palestinian children? Oh no, apparently their deaths are fine. Their deaths are, he's happily in support of those, of course.
Like a sick joke. Ben.
Okay, I go back to the point here. This flood did not ask if you were liberal or conservative, rich or poor, black or white, or anything else in between. People lost their lives, and many people lost their lives trying to save kids in an unprecedented flood. If we could go back, I'm sure this community would have said, we'll figure out a way to have the money. You're dealing with an area that has a lot of volunteer first responders and firefighters. Can I finish, please? Like, maybe you'll learn something and not be such a tool.
You just lie.
You don't live there. You don't know. You've never been there. I've been there. I've talked to people. You don't know anybody that died in this flood. You're a
Jesus Christ. Okay. In my imagination, this is the view out of Kev's window. Never points the camera at. What, you think I live in the centre of town? You think I have city centre money? Are you fucking joking? For those who don't know, that is the city I live in. Albeit a slightly older... No, actually, no, that's basically a modern picture, isn't it? Yeah. But no, I don't live anywhere near there. The bus I have to take to get into town goes this way. Technically, you are on the right side of the city. This is the south side of the city centre. It is not St. Petersburg, either in Russia or Florida. But no, that is not what I look. Though I won't be showing you outside of my window, so you can continue to believe that if you really boss wanker. True. On occasion, I am. I do drive, but when I want to drink, I do take a bus. I won't be revealing the number of the bus. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, but no, that is not my view.
POS,
about it.
That's
you
who
should
you
feel
are.
like an
I
even
would
bigger
like to
piece of
finish
shit.
my point, Piers.
Finish it, Ben.
Thank you. There are people that died in this flood helping try to save the lives of others. There are elderly that died. I know people that lost children in this flood. They would.
It is not the 69 Bilderberg, and I presume you're doing a funny joke there by just choosing the number 69. But the number 69 does exist, and I did take the number 69 regularly to and from school. I usually took the 49, but the 69 took you the same way, so and it was just less regular. So I did regularly take the 69. And I'll be honest with you, it was not nice. It wasn't. But the buses here are fucking disgusting.
Love to go back and have a different warning system. By the way, we don't know if the warning system would have changed anything at all. The warnings came out early. Unfortunately, there's spotty cell phone there. Everyone's talked about this. I'm sure there's people in the community that wish they would have maybe done something different in the past. Hindsight's 20/20. But to say that the community decided not to do this because of some insane theory you've come up with, which is not true or based in fact. It was based on a small rural community with not a lot of tax base and a very expensive price tag for something. And for you to sit here and to somehow decide that this is a place to say something so sick. I'm assuming you don't have kids. I have 6-year-old and 8-year-old kids. If you talk to parents that are planning their child's funerals are happening tomorrow and the next day here.
He does have a kid. I don't know how involved he is, but he does have a kid.
In Houston, I think you would have a little bit of a soul and a heart for them, but instead you're out here putting this crap out there, and it's really sad. I hope you get help.
Let me bring in Brian. Brian, I want to talk just...
That's interesting that he didn't interject with, no, I do have a kid, actually. That's fucking weird. Why did he not... That's weird that he wouldn't... I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
About a wider point connected to what Destiny posted, for which he shows no regret at all, which is entirely his choice, but I can say my feelings, which I have. You know,
yeah, Destiny has a kid. Yeah, he's been on stream, albeit fleetingly, but he has been on stream in the past. So it's not like he hides the fact that he has a kid. But like I said, I don't know how involved in his life he is or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
A former appointee to a Houston city board said that Camp Mystic, where most of these poor young girls were at the time, was white-only, conservative and Christian, said Sade Perkins, a former member of the Houston Food Insecurity Board, said in a TikTok video, so take a look.
Did he just say toctic? Oh, I'm not letting him get away with that one. Boomer ass prick.
Food Insecurity Board, said in a TikTok video.
A toctic video! Boomer!
Video, so take a look.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian.
Token Asian. I have a source that points out that the Guadalupe River has flooded more than a dozen times in the past century. The dude is lying. Well, there you go. What a surprise. Ted Cruz's best friend is lying in defense of Ted Cruz killing Texans. Cool.
They don't have a token black person. If this were a group of Hispanic girls out there, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a f***. And all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported.
Now, A, I think that's completely untrue, what she said. B, it's completely disgusting to say that in the aftermath of this when these poor girls, many of them are still...
Why do you fucking care? Why have you brought up a random toctic video? Piers. Sorry, I have an up-to-date video of Birmingham City Centre. Thank you. To be fair, the city centre is the one place they have kept scrupulously clean. Because that's where cameras are. Yeah. There were piled up bin bags everywhere else in the city. But not the city centre. Also, yeah, so Ted, why do you care? Why do you care that some random TikTok person said a thing? Why is that a news item for you?
missing, presumed dead. But then there's a paediatrician called Dr. Christina B. Probst, who's been fired after posting on social media. She's a paediatrician, this woman. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to get FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts.
That is, to be fair, not a very nice thing to say. And it's one of the things I don't like about liberals who are like, oh, they voted for a thing. I hope they suffer. That's not great. But what I will say is that Trump has regularly wished harm upon people who didn't vote for him. Literally, fucking Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out a thing about a joke making light of the fact that, its husband got his head fucking caved in with a hammer. They have been actively wetting their fucking knickers collectively over their new concentration camp in Florida. Don't pretend that it's just the fucking liblobs that are out here being like, oh, I wish ill upon my enemies. Motherfucker, they've got alligator Alcatraz or whatever, a fucking concentration camp for their ethnic enemies. That's it, man. Don't fucking pretend like some random paediatrician really matters. Yeah, they love the hammer jokes, yeah.
And my question...
they still do George Floyd jokes. Every time it comes round to the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, right? They all do George Floyd. Oh, congratulations, George Floyd. He's 5 years clean from taking fentanyl or whatever. They fucking love it, that shit, man. They're evil bastards.
Putting that together with what Destiny posted, which again, for the record, I thought was disgusting, Destiny, I've told you. You can defend it as much as you like, but it was just a sick...
Crocodile. It's very weird. Okay.
Awful thing to post, and if you had any humanity about you would delete it. But that's entirely your decision. But Brian, I've seen this on the other side too. I've seen this during the Biden administration when terrible things happen, that there's a race for people to get political, to play a race card or play this card or play that card, or just show a shocking inhumanity.
No,
And it's the
Adric,
very
it
word.
wasn't Laura Loomer. That was Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter said we didn't kill enough Indians, was the exact phrasing she used. Meaning, of course, native peoples, First Nations lads. I'll say that we didn't abort enough Ann Coulters, frankly. But, you know, that's a different matter entirely.
Of society when that happens. What do we do about this? I think it's fueled by social media. People wouldn't be able to get the audience for this kind of thing without TikTok, without Facebook, without X and so on. But it's a sick thing.
Why does he keep calling it X? What a briefcase. Jesus fucking Christ, Twitter.
This goes on when these terrible tragedies happen.
Look, I obviously can't speak for what some random person on the internet tweeted about Camp Mystic. All I can say is look, I try to have some sense of the fact that there are as many Republicans in California as there are in Texas, and there are as many Democrats in Texas as there are in major big blue bastions. And so I try to, focus on that and recognize that a lot of these people are, a lot of these people are fighting against the same system that I would be fighting against, and I would, obviously not attack folks in Texas. But I would point out that, Ben said that these storms aren't partisan, and that we have to try. I can't remember what Ben said, but the reality is that while the wildfires were raging in California, Ben and Ted had a podcast where they just attacked where they attacked Governor Newsom and Karen Bass, and that was while the fires were still raging. And so, spare us the grandstanding and the virtue signaling about how this stuff doesn't get partisan. This was here's Ted Cruz's tweet. Right now, everyone is horrified watching the LA wildfires. In today's episode of Verdict, we break down the catastrophic policy decisions made by Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass. While the wildfires were still raging in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that is a little bit politicizing, champ. Yeah. Old clean shirt over here.
While I was standing on my roof in LA, spraying down my house with a hose to make sure that my house wouldn't set on fire when the fire was down the street within 1 mile of my house.
Did you listen to the show?
And so Ted Cruz decided to come out and make his entire episode, which, by the way, there is not.
So I'll tell you what we said because I was on that show.
Excuse me, let him finish. You were crying so much about people interrupting. Let him finish.
I know. Ben is arguing for Destiny.
You said we did a show. You're putting words in our mouth of something we didn't say.
Okay, I'm done. I don't care. I don't care. Okay. Was that Laura Loomer said America needs to deport as illegals the number of people that identified as Latino on the last census. I think Laura Loomer needs to fuck off forever into the sun. Bye, bitch. You fucking weirdo. Fucking. She looks like she's had an allergic reaction. Like she had some fucking bad shellfish or something. What was it someone called her the other day? She looks like oh, what's the fucking what's the bloke called from the puppet character from Saw? Jigsaw. She looks like Jigsaw, and she does. Oh. Anyway, I'm gonna fuck off for the evening, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure if Christie's around. I'm not sure, so I can't really say because I don't fucking know. All right, but I will endeavour to get Christie on board if I can. Let's see who's going on YouTube's that I can send everybody over to. Who have we got? Oh, No Justice is on. Okay, I'll send you over to No Justice. Well, that makes the Twitch decision a lot easier then, doesn't it? I'll send everyone over to No Justice. Presumably she's on Twitch. There she is. Okay, everyone. Like I say, I'll be back tomorrow. She said she was doing an afternoon stream today, so I don't know. Things happen, though, I suppose. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with possibly Christy, possibly not. We'll wait and see. Enjoy No Justice's stream, etc., etc. Thank you all for listening, watching, your support, and all of that jazz. Free Palestine. No passing around.
With 89% approval, she has the highest approval rating of any political leader in the world. She won the election in a landslide, winning literally every single...
escaping to the one place that hasn't been